In 2024, one manufacturer sold the same television at the same price with two completely different panel technologies inside. Buyers had no way to tell which one they were getting. One version used self-emitting pixels with quantum dot color conversion. The other used a rival's white panel with color filters. Same model number, same listing, measurably different performance. A second name in this comparison is not a display technology at all, but a marketing term invented in 2017 to make a backlit screen sound comparable to something it fundamentally is not. A third is a budget label where the resolution is real, but the picture quality belongs to the previous decade. And the fourth was invented at a photography company that went bankrupt before it could profit. Its patents sold for a fraction of their value to the competitor now making billions from them. 4 labels. 2 are misleading, 1 is a lottery. In 1987, 2 researchers at Eastman Kodak built the first practical device using organic compounds that emit light when electricity passes through them. Previous attempts required over 100 volts. Theirs worked at voltages low enough for consumer products. Kodak held the patents for 22 years and never successfully commercialized the technology beyond a single digital camera in 2003. The company went bankrupt in 2012. A competitor purchased the entire portfolio of over 2,200 patents for $100 million, and that acquisition created the monopoly controlling over half the global market today. Each pixel produces its own light independently. When a pixel needs to display black, it turns off completely, producing infinite contrast that no backlit screen can physically replicate. Response times sit below 1/10 of a millisecond, making motion blur essentially invisible. Viewing angles remain consistent because there is no backlight leaking through liquid crystal at the wrong angle. For darkroom viewing, nothing in this comparison comes close, but the organic compounds that make self-emitting pixels possible also degrade with use, particularly the blue elements. Static content displayed for extended periods causes permanent ghost images that no setting can reverse. A 10-month longevity study found every monitor tested suffered some degree of permanent image retention. Real user data across 4,000 reports showed just over 8% experiencing visible retention within 12 months. Manufacturer warranties for televisions specifically exclude this damage unless it occurs under controlled laboratory conditions, which functionally means they do not cover it. Monitor manufacturers do cover it. Television manufacturers decided the replacement cost was too high. This is not a display technology, it is a brand name registered in 2017 to make a quantum dot-enhanced backlit screen sound comparable to what it is not. The technology uses a blue backlight shining through a film of semiconductor nanocrystals that convert light into precise red and green wavelengths, which then pass through a liquid crystal layer and color filters. It is a backlit screen with better color accuracy than a standard one. That is the entire technical difference. The nanocrystals themselves were first observed by a Soviet physicist in 1981. An American researcher confirmed the discovery independently the following year. A method to precisely control their size was developed at a university in 1993. The 3 researchers shared a Nobel Prize in 2023 for work that began over 40 years earlier. The manufacturer that branded this as something new entered the field by acquiring a competitor in 2016, taking all its patents and shutting the company down. The brightness advantage is real. Models using miniaturized backlights with thousands of dimming zones reach between 2,000 and 5,000 nits, cutting through glare that would wash out a self-emitting panel. There is zero risk of permanent image retention because no organic compounds are involved. Lifespan extends to 10 to 15 years. For anyone in a bright room, watching content with static elements for extended hours, or wanting the largest sizes at lower cost than self-emitting alternatives, accepting that blacks will never be truly black, that bright objects against dark backgrounds produce visible haloing, and that viewing angles narrow compared to self-emitting competitors. This is the budget line where the label says one thing and the picture quality delivers another. The resolution is genuine with the same pixel count as every other option here. But resolution measures how many pixels exist, not how well they perform. The backlight is basic, either mounted along the edges or spread directly behind the panel without meaningful localized dimming. The color technology uses phosphor enhancement rather than the nanocrystal film found in the mid-range competitor. Peak brightness reaches 300 to 500 nits, which is too low for the high dynamic range content it claims to support. The contrast produces visibly grey blacks. The color coverage sits at 70 to 80% of the professional cinema standard. The response time creates noticeable motion blur during fast content. Independent assessments describe it as a panel with current resolution and previous decade picture quality, delivering pixel count without image quality. It exists because screen size at the lowest possible cost is a legitimate purchasing criterion for millions of buyers. For casual daytime viewing, background content and sports, where brightness matters less than scale, accepting that every visual metric sits measurably below every other option in this comparison. This is the only technology here manufactured by a single company, created specifically to break the monopoly held by the rival whose panels it was forced to buy. Instead of white emitters filtered through color layers that absorb light, blue emitters sit beneath a nanocrystal conversion layer that transforms light into red and green without filters. More light reaches the viewer from the same input. The color volume combines infinite contrast with the nanocrystal accuracy that backlit screens pioneered. Brightness reaches between 1500 and 2000 nits, with a roadmap targeting 4500. The same manufacturer that makes these panels cannot produce enough to meet its own television division's demand. In 2024, the electronics arm signed a 5-year agreement to purchase millions of panels annually from its biggest rival, the company whose monopoly this technology was designed to break. The flagship model uses the in-house technology. The Bastarig mid-range model is sold with either panel type assigned randomly, which is the lottery described at the start of this video. In bright ambient light, the nanocrystal layer causes light reflection that raises the black level above what the older filtered technology produces in the same conditions. The scenario where this technology should dominate, it performs measurably worse than its predecessor. Every unit still contains organic compounds that degrade. Manufacturer warranty still excludes permanent image retention, and a factory investigation reported that every worker interviewed described experiencing dizziness or fainting, with miscarriages described as common at the facility producing these panels. The manufacturer disputed the findings. The government of the country hosting the factory, where the company accounts for 14% of total exports, never investigated. The self-emitting panel for anyone viewing in controlled lighting where infinite contrast, near instantaneous response, and the widest viewing angles represent what researchers at a Bankrupt photography company invented in 1987 and never profited from, accepting that organic compounds degrade, that static content creates permanent damage, the warranty does not cover, and that the monopoly controlling supply exists because one company's bankruptcy became another's billion-pound business. The branded backlit screen for anyone in bright environments, where peak brightness between 2 and 5,000 nits, zero risk of permanent image retention, and a marketing name engineered to sound like something it is not, represent the pragmatic choice, accepting that true black is physically impossible, and that the nanocrystals inside were first observed in a Soviet laboratory over 40 years ago. The budget line for anyone where screen size at the lowest cost matters more than every visual metric sitting a generation behind, accepting exactly what that trade-off delivers, and the single-source technology for anyone where the best combined color and contrast available today is worth accepting that the manufacturer cannot produce enough panels for its own televisions, that its mid-range model is a lottery between two technologies, and that the factory conditions behind the product have been questioned by the United Nations. One was invented at a company that went bankrupt, one was named to mislead, one is honest about being cheap, and one created a lottery rather than admit it could not manufacture enough of its own technology.
Every choice has a trade-off. At least now you know what you're trading.